Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Big Future. I'm Brian Wong. So I'm a futurist and technologist. I've been writing about the future, over 30,000 articles on my website, Next Big Future. And I'm going to discuss a way to measure progress, technological progress, from the dawn of man to galactic civilizations, like the entire range measurement, and do it in a more useful way than any prior measurement that's been around. So going from, caveman to Dyson spheres, it'll handle everything and have levels that can compare one level to the next in a more easy way. And it can also handle technological singularity. I'm talking about technological singularity where artificial general intelligence comes along and increases the amount of intelligence by 1 billion times. And somehow this makes things unpredictable, difficult to assess and measure. And the way I will measure and look at things, it can handle this and beyond. So for measuring technology singularity, you need to define, measure, and determine when there's accelerating change. So I'll be able to say, here's the base level of what we expect, and here we have extra levels. And how many extra levels. And it can measure an intelligent explosion, and it scales to super intelligence and basically has an infinite progression scale. Previous measurements or charts looking at countdown to singularity will look at, progressing from single cells and having a logarithmic chart, but then it doesn't go into the future. It doesn't say, what's beyond that. It's just, looking at a time of a countdown. So, and then there's other measurements like the Kardashev scale, which looks at all the solar energy of a planet, all the energy of our sun, all the energy of a galaxy to go type 1, type 2, type 3. But type 2 is 11 billion times almost more than type 1, and similarly 11 billion times more for type 3. So it's or 10 billion times each time. So it's a very clearly rough scale, because you can have huge amounts of time in between each level. And we've been less than level 1 for forever. Since we started with less than level 1, now, after all the billions of changes we've had, we're still less than level 1. We still need 50,000 times more energy to get to level 1. So it's a very crude and inefficient scale. If you start using, 0.7, 0.8, it's not very useful. And even someone digging into it, it's difficult to apply and difficult to use. And it's an interpolated scale at that 0.6, 0.7, 100 years to move between 0.6 and 0.7. It's not very insightful. So I'm going to propose is that doubling levels are a far more effective and useful tool for measuring technological progress. So doubling is significantly different. Like we have, percentage of GDP change from year to year, but 3%, 8%, 12%. It's we know 1% or less is bad. 3 to 4% is kind of like what we expect from many developed countries. 8% or more is one of the emerging countries like China doing really well. But that it's difficult to assess the whole scale of what's happened, and you can't really. It's difficult to compare things between history, worlds, countries, companies, energy, metals, money. Doubling can handle all this in a more easy way, and it's more insightful, I think, than percentages, and easier for people to put in their heads. And works with all data, which I'll give you examples of. So I can look at ancient humans. 10,000 years ago, we could say population-wise, we're at level 22. 22 doublings from one person to get to 4 million people. That's level 22. 50,000 years ago, we're at level 21, 2 million people, right? So already this is something where you can say, how to supply, and then we can go to modern age, 8 billion people almost, 33 doublings from one person. So that's 11 doublings more than 10,000 years ago, 12 doublings more than 50,000 years ago. And then 1974 is when we had 4 billion people. Well, that was level 32. Level 31 is 1927. 1 billion people, level 30 is 1804. So It's something where you can put in a clear, simple, single number metric that can be more comprehensible by that. You just, if you know that there are 10 doublings in 1,000, then you know that that's 10 levels to get for 1,000 times. And to get into level 27, 28, to go back 2,000 years. Okay, so then also you can break that for countries. India and China are our level 30 countries, each with over 1 billion people. Level 28 countries are USA and Indonesia, et cetera, et cetera. So again, it's something where you can apply it to countries, you can apply it to history, you can apply it to the current thing, you can start projecting forward based off this. The peak carrying capacity of Earth was 100 million hunter-gatherers, level 26. So if everyone lived kind of like Native Americans, then max, you can have 100 million people. And now modern agriculture with an oil economy, we're looking at max of 10 billion people, level 33. But, with greenhouses, nuclear, solar energy, we can get up to level 38, which is 300 billion people, et cetera. More technology, filling the solar system, filling the solar system by a million times. That's 20 levels. That's going from 10 billion people up to 100,000 trillion people. And they can even get to, adding another 1,000 in there by getting out to the Oort comet cloud. And then semi-levels up from Earth, another 40 levels beyond the solar system to get to that whole Kardashev level 3 filling up the galaxy scenario. And then you can also apply this to purchasing power in the economy, where we've been doubling every 25 years, which is a bit faster than population doubling. And the reason for that is because per capita income went up. So starting in the industrial age, everyone was about $300 per person per year. And now we're up to around 16,000 for the world. So we've had about 8 doublings there to get to that level. But those 8 doublings only happened with the industrial age. Maybe there was 1 doubling from the Renaissance, something like that. So then the rest has been population increases. Agriculture enabled the growing economy because it enabled more people, right? So that was what enabled the prior economic growth. And now we also have, besides population growth, or maybe in place of population growth, we have per capita income productivity growth. So projecting forward, we expect if we maintain our rate of progress since World War II, where we've had 4 doublings, 15 times more steel, et cetera, like that, then every 25 years we'll get more. So then we should expect another doubling, 2045, 2070, 2095. So by 2100, 3 more doublings, 8 times to 10 times as much stuff for an economy. So you can see with acceleration, significant technological acceleration, we expect more doublings, extra doublings beyond what we'd be expecting from now to 2100 or beyond. And they can also look back at historical growth. I said the 8 doublings from per capita income increases, comparing undeveloped Africa versus the USA 2020. Mexico having 3 per capita doublings behind the USA. China still 3 per capita doublings behind the USA. But China caught up with 4 to 5 extra doublings. That was the Chinese economic miracle, was to achieve an extra 4 to 5 doublings, catching up with that level. And a city, Shanghai, is 2 per capita doubling behind because the urban city of China is ahead of its rural and other urban areas. So I mean, it's an easier way to compare countries and history. Like I said, we have the normal future doublings, and then acceleration is more doubling. So level 1 technological singularity would get extra doubling, however you achieve it, where we go from $16,000 to $50,000 per person by 2045, right? And we could get another extra doubling, say 2045 to 2070, instead of going up double, we go up 4 times. That's an extra doubling of that 25-year period. And then level 3 doubling by 2095. So if we get extra doubling each one of those 25-year periods, then we'd be 8, 10 times further ahead than we would have expected, 100 times more in 2100 versus 10 times more is what we normally expect. Again, percentages, not as intuitive is we have achieving 6% world GDP growth. Of course, if you get the current recession and other issues that we currently are having. Like I said, the fast doubling of countries and companies to see, okay, can the world achieve what China did, 15% per year for a decade, two doublings in 10 years would basically get the 5 extra doublings in 40 years. So China with 20% of the world population, 50% of the world population would achieved that level, but would basically be they were in catch-up mode, but basically with super technology, super AI, are we all going to be the equivalent of catch-up mode? And then companies, high growth companies, Amazon achieved a couple of decades, 25% GDP growth. Some companies achieved 42%, Tesla achieved 50% growth per year, doubling every 2 years. So can that be something that can be spread out over beyond the efficiency of those companies? So there's a singularity means scale, and I can also compare animals as well. So it also means you can compare aliens. You can also look at energy. 700 watts of work for a horse. You can convert electrical energy to animal work labor energy. And Kardashev shales, if we want to convert that into the doubling levels, then level 19 is if we start 1800s level 1, which is skipping over the 30 population levels to get to level 1 in 1800, then we're 19 levels, or basically up 1 million times more to achieve a Kardashev level 1 civilization, whenever that occurs. Level 52 is achieving the type 2, and level 87 is the type 3. That's where we set 1800 to level 1. Like I said, you can apply this to animal populations. Gibbons, chimps, and gorillas are all about 250,000 population levels. That's level 18, which is, so even 50,000 years ago, we were 3 levels, humanity was 3 levels above where Gibbons, chimps, and gorillas are. Macaques, vulnerable species are level 10, where there's less than 1,000 of them. 250 are endangered, level 8. And we have 60 million horses, which is level 28. And so convert the horse population to energy. And we also look at computing power, maximum computing, current levels of computing, all can be done because it's, we can convert the doubling levels to doubling of compute power. So similarly, we can look at, since the beginning of the semiconductor revolution, you can look at, what level 28, 29, based on the trillion to 2 trillion chips of the Cerebras wafer chips. And then we can apply that to, levels to various AI tasks as well, to look at when we'll achieve certain things. So future centuries, we can look at, energies again, projecting forward, because we can achieve a baseline based on what we expect, based on some historical doubling in the past 100 years, and then projecting forward, at the same pace or at a faster pace. So Tesla bots could soon enable us to have an increase in human-like population. A staff of wealthy estate, your Downton Abbey type situation, you have a staff of 20 to 100. If everyone has 100 bots, then everyone's kind of living like Downton Abbey or like a wealthy person, a super wealthy person of the 1800s and 1900s. Type 1 abundance will be calculated then as everyone has 100,000 Tesla bots. So 5 gigafactories for everyone, because 20,000 people man the China, Shanghai Tesla gigafactory. So, we can then convert, what did it take to get to type 1 abundance per person if we didn't increase the population? And then there are certain calculations and papers discussing what would be a universal scale computer. That's 10 to the 90th operations per second. With quantum memory, that'd be level 270, up from 1 operation per second. So building more gigafactory bots, is a clear, you can see how we can measure a clear path to achieving type 1. And then going back into the history, like I said, the dawn of man, you can see how many previous doublings there were, how slow they were, how we sped up now through hunting, through farming, through industry. There were papers by previous researchers who looked at the history, economists, Robin, apologize for the other name, who has looked at the history of economic doubling. So then we look at, say, the entire human history based on doubling times, how the economic doubling occurred, going up by a factor of 10 from 3700 to 1800. So 3 doublings is a factor of 8, so roughly the factor of 10. So 6 doublings from 3700 BC to 1700, 7 doublings from 47 BC to 700, down to farming, 16 doublings from 2 million BC to 1700. And that was mostly population increase, or pretty much all population increase. And then today, to a fully developed solar system, it's 26 doublings, and to a fully developed galaxy, about 26 doublings. So population, per capita income, oil, energy, computing, all of that can be looked at. And then we can look at how, various technologies, what will it take, certain of those things to achieve, the level of difference we have. So again, it's something where we can look at, how do we go beyond what we expect or what we've been doing. And, looking at, details of as we colonize each part of the solar system. And then, if we can achieve a doubling rate every 5 years instead of every 25 years, we can that's our solar system in 140 years instead of 650. So by 2160, we can get there instead of 2770, right? And then we can measure that technological singularity, aliens, all of that can be measured with this doubling scale. And going from one lower level to higher, 3 higher, it's more comparable. Like I said, 3 doubling less, and the USA is in Mexico. More doubling, then it's a more advanced civilization. It's something where you can get clear separation between differences versus just like 20% per capita income. It's roughly the same. Europe and Japan, the wealthiest parts, Germany and Japan compared to the United States, is not that different. But you can get to where they take to get to enough separation where you can really see the differences. So that's my presentation on using doubling to measure the past and the future. Okay, so please like, subscribe, and support me on Patreon. Thank you.